Although you claim to have had a experience of God, it can't be the actual God, because if it had been, then you never would have left the belief of God behind. The true experience, the real experience of God, is one that is so real, so true, that you cannot deny that it's actually God. You must not have gone to the right church, or heard the right sermons, or sang the right songs, or read the Bible in the right way, because if you had, then you would still believe there's a God. You don't understand history. You don't understand textual criticism. You don't understand how to really interpret these events. You don't understand something. You must have missed something. You're looking at it the wrong way. You just want to sin. You never were a true Christian. You know that there's a God, but yet you reject it. You don't want to give God its full glory. You don't want to submit yourself to judgment. I've heard all of this. I've read all of this, directed at me, directed at others. These sort of statements are made by the believer because they must protect their sacred beliefs at all costs. They are not aware of why they're making these statements. And in that moment, they truly believe these statements are true, even though they can't possibly know what's in your mind, what your past experience was like. They will negate your experience because their experience is what they must rely upon to continue to believe. And if you had their experience and yet concluded that that experience was not from God, then that means that their belief in God is incorrect, and they cannot, will not accept that. This is cognitive dissonance in action. When people ascribe to you motives and or reasons or intent, they call you a cynic. They say, oh, you're just being super skeptical. You're not being open-minded enough. You're not looking hard enough. You didn't try. You didn't really, actually, sincerely ask God for help. You just didn't struggle hard enough to maintain your faith. And the reason that they're saying this, the reason that they're using these sort of words, the reason that they're giving these justifications is not about you. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own beliefs. Their empathy when considering you, they're putting themselves in your shoes. And when they hit that uncomfortable moment of realization that they too could maybe one day stop believing in God, their brain flips a switch into panic mode. And so they must make excuses and reasons for why you rejected what's the truth with a capital T. Or maybe the whole word truth is capitalized. I have reality and you don't. Many believers have convinced themselves of their own mental gymnastics in this regard and have constructed wild, outlandish hoop jumping that they would require you to do to disprove their faith. Go to this sort of church, in this sort of condition, with this sort of music, and then you'll have the real experience of God. And then you'll understand where I'm coming from. But of course, even if you went to such lengths, it wouldn't disprove that to them. They could always just say that you were lying. They could say, well, obviously something went wrong, or it doesn't count because you have a different brain than my brain anyways. There's always a way out. It is not up to the skeptic, the atheist, the agnostic, the non-believer, whatever the label is. It is not up to us to prove your experience as valid. Yeah, you had some experience maybe, and maybe that was a profound one, but maybe the experience is just one that your brain can produce on its own, and it isn't from anywhere else. And we've had that experience. Maybe we've had it, but you can't accept that we've had it because we now see it for it being nothing more than our own brain, and you can't accept that it could just be your brain. You have to believe that it's from God. Because if you don't believe that, then your faith fades away, and that's terrifying because you're so used to it. You're so comfortable with the belief. You don't want to let it go. You can't let it go. You're in love with it. You need it. It comforts you. Thinking about letting it go is terrifying. It looks like an abysmal void of darkness. It is akin to realizing that you're being broken up with after a long relationship. It is devastating to consider. The next time that somebody says something like this to you, that they say you never really were a true Christian, or you didn't have the right religion, or you don't understand the Bible, or you didn't read it the right way, or you didn't understand history, or anything of that nature, you can just direct them to this video and say, yeah, that's your problem, not mine. That's your belief, not my belief. You don't know why I deconverted, and you probably don't care. And even if I tell you, it won't matter because you've got so many mental blocks protecting your sacred belief that you could never really truly accept that I or anyone else once believed what you do, and now we realize that it's all myth. It's fantasy. It's made by humans, and it's not true. It's not real. There's no way that they can ever really accept that, because if they did, then they too would be one of us, and that frightens them. I'm not afraid of learning that I'm wrong and that there actually is some sort of God or spirit or supernatural or magic or mystical thing that happens to be true. I would love to find out that that's the case. But the evidence isn't there. The invented arguments of many, if not all, religious people cannot prove a thing that is not there. And it isn't there. If it was, it would be demonstrably demonstratable. It would be verifiable. But it's not either of these things. The excuses for why it's not these things are lackluster when an investigation is done. But the religious, to maintain their sacred belief, will not do those investigations. They will do investigation maybe, but they'll only look at the things that confirm their belief, not the things that could destroy it. Maybe, just maybe, they will eventually deconvert, and that is their journey to go on. And we must be there, always offering them help on that journey. They want us to believe. We want them to realize that belief isn't needed and instead embrace the fact of reality. Reality is so much cooler than their religion could have ever predicted and ever promises. Yes, reality can be harsh as well, and there are uncomfortable truths, but we must embrace those because we actually care about what's true, so that we can move on and move forward as a individual and as a group, moving society forward into the future, into the unknown, accepting that these gods never were a thing other than our own invention, and instead leaving those inventions behind and discovering new and better inventions to create using our minds, inventions that we can actually apply to reality and change things for the better.
Open your heart.